that. Hey, look, we're live. We can't start talking because there's nobody listening yet.
That's never stopped us before.
I was saying there's rarely ever anybody ever listening ever. And yet we still seem to think we're doing a podcast.
We're doing
Eduardo
something.
Reyes is here.
Hi, Eduardo.
Eduardo!
Somebody loves us. All right, Eric, you done with your work?
I'm still setting up the email. I mean, did you set the email?
What email? No. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, yes. It's verified. Nothing's changed there. You still get Eric at, and I get everything that at Diego DevWorks works for the other one too.
We've got to set it up on the server though. I was going to use Mailgun for the site, but it's taking forever to verify the domain. So I don't know. I don't know, my friend.
Oh, you called me a friend. That just made my night. I was gonna walk away and be done for the night, but I guess I can't now.
No.
Oh, was I supposed to start recording, by the way?
You called the start to record.
You literally did the countdown. Apparently, this is your show today for some unknown reason.
Yeah,
I don't know.
You're driving this boat.
And we are on episode 94. Did you know that?
Yes.
I have an interesting fact, but I probably shouldn't share it right now.
Why?
You guys ready?
Yeah, man. Totally.
Right.
The world.
Welcome to PHP Ugly, episode 94. I'm John Congdon.
I'm Tom
With me
Rideout.
always, hey, chill. With me as always is Eric Van Johnson.
Hello.
Hi, Eric.
Hi.
And Tom Rideout.
Hi.
Hey, guys, how are you doing? See, a nice, simple, short intro. Get the show started. So you ready for my interesting information of the day?
You're just opening with a so?
Yeah.
I got lots of scotch, so it could be a so day.
So much scotch.
So there's other podcasts that I respect that have been around for a long time. And I was listening to a couple trying to figure out some sort of intro other than what we've been doing because nobody really wanted to take on the intro today. And one of the ones that's been around for a long time, the Development Hell podcast, they started in 2011. Guess how many episodes they've done?
94.
Exactly.
No, I'm going to go with 316.
Well, you're wrong because Tom's already got it. 94, just like we have. See? We're in league with the big boys. Yeah.
There is no way Dev Hell's only done 94 episodes.
Their 94th episode was November 19th, 2017.
What? I find that hard to believe.
I mean, we cheat. We do one every week. Real podcasters do it like whenever they feel like it.
I wouldn't say heavy lifting is cheating if you're going to the Olympics.
Good point. So
ask
how you
me
guys
which
been
Olympics we're
doing
going to.
What was that?
I don't know. Thomas said something and I asked how you guys were doing.
It's been a long one.
Making things happen here, baby. Making things happen.
I know. Should we start off this episode with our big news?
I mean, yeah. Because I don't know what it is.
Eric's trying to put the finishing touches on. As of this minute, or actually minutes ago, the call for papers for WavePHP went live. So if you head over to cfp.wavephp.com right now, you can start submitting your talks. I guess we should clarify that this is being recorded on February 1st, 2018. Call for papers will be open. I think we're targeting all of February, right? So we're going to have it open for 4 weeks.
At least. Yeah.
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 So if you're listening to us within the first 4 weeks of this thing being released, you can head over and submit your talks. Man, I'm
That's
getting
right.
so
If you're listening to us live, you can have a first crack at the almost fully deployed call for paper. So,
as it breaks down right now.
yeah.
We're talking to you, Eduardo and
some,
Ted.
some colors here. So yeah, but that's the thing apparently. All right. Call for papers.
Obviously, we're gonna end up tweaking the site a little bit. We spent a little bit of time on it, but there's still plenty to be done. So if you notice any oddities, let us know.
Yes. Let us know.
Interesting. It wasn't OpenCFP done by Grumpy.
Yep. This is Chris's package or project. It's not even a package. It's a whole project.
Yeah. Chris, thank you for letting us share episode 94 with you and using your
oh yeah,
OpenCFP.
that's right. He does that. He does the Dev Hell podcast too.
Yeah.
We're just trying to be like Chris. Everybody's trying to be like Chris.
You are too with the beard there.
Scruffy beard in the bad disposition.
You are a grumpy guy sometimes, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, I am. Thomas, you're being pretty quiet. What's going on with you?
I was looking up a Medium article written by friend of the show, Ted Nugent.
Ted?
Ted, yeah, you know.
Articles.
He hopped into our channel, and it reminded me that he has posted on Medium now about Laravel, Forge, Envoy, Cloudflare, SSL, and you.
Do share the link and add it to the show notes, please.
I will drop that in. He's on our channel here claiming that he's not an activist, but I do see a lot of activity here in this Medium post. So that's
and man, he is one cute guy.
That
is one cute guy right there.
I believe that's a baby.
You think that's a baby? I think he's just a young-looking dude.
I don't know. These tech guys get younger and younger every year.
I'm telling you, I know, every year they're younger and younger. Jeez, oh flip.
I'm
probably got 8 years of Node under his belt too.
I'm still trying to figure out where Medium fits in. Like, why has it become so popular?
It doesn't. It is the long form of Twitter. It is an absolute cesspool.
That's exactly. It's not a cesspool. It's exactly that though. Especially when Twitter was 140 characters, it's where people went. At first, it's where people went to put in a little extra verbiage, and then it's kind of turned into, it was always a blogging platform, but it's kind of became the de facto blogging platform for a lot of people. It's the same as, every blogging platform. It's like everybody wants to do it themselves, and people get tired of managing the servers, and so they start using a service. And right now, Medium's that service. I don't know. Well, I don't know why you would hate it so much. It's just a platform. I mean,
I'll tell you why. I subscribed to Hacker Noon on my RSS reader, and I was expecting a lot of in-depth articles about technical things coming up and breakdowns of languages and technologies, and it just is not that. It is an RSS feed of
it's like Twitter, though. No, it's like Twitter. You've got to follow the right people. I mean, if you just blindly follow anyone, you're gonna get a lot of crap. But if you curate your list and watch who you follow, then
that's the thing. Is I was under the impression that Hacker Noon was somewhat curated, which it is not. It is just an open dump of crypto recommendations. and it's the content is so genuinely bad as just a fire hose at your face.
Speaking of crypto recommendations from last episode, did you check out Doug Polk Crypto?
I
His
did.
YouTube channel? What'd you think?
Yeah, I did. I only caught one of his episodes so far, and my walk away from it was very, very bad.
Really?
Yeah, not from him. He's a smart guy, but the story he was covering was basically how to tell what the deal is with all these Ponzi schemes that are out there and how they're operating. And as he was explaining sort of how the Ponzi works, which is that they have a market cap of 10 million, and they say that it's all backed, but they end up spending 9 million of the 10 million, so only 10% of it is actually backed. But you don't know that until more than 10% of people cash out completely, which in crypto nobody does. I mean, the crypto trend right now is hold through the lows, hold through the highs, just keep dumping money into crypto, don't ever take money out. And I realized that we're just building a Ponzi scheme of our own making by never taking money out of crypto. John, I can't hear you.
Weird. So it's like any other investment. It depends on what you're putting money into, right? So one of his episodes that I really liked was around you should be investing in things you look into more. And dang it, it was on the tip of my tongue when I was talking into the muted microphone. So what we want to do is invest in things we think are valuable. And then I'm going to cry because I am dying right now.
Good job.
Yeah, this conversation went well. Very well.
Well, he was talking about Tether and how Tether says that their coin is backed. It's what? USDT?
Okay, so that's the one I just watched recently. It's supposed to be tied directly to the US dollar.
Right, because they have actual US dollars all over the place. But you look at where they are listing their US dollars, and it's all Cayman Islands, Panama, it's everywhere throughout the world. And it's $2.5 billion. And then people are looking through the Paradise Papers and finding out that the names of the founders are tied to the names of other Ponzi schemes. And it's like, oh, that's bad. And the audits haven't actually happened like they said they would. And people are being told by the community, just hold your money forever. And that's the thing about these retirement plan style holdings, is that if you're holding for your retirement and everyone is getting in at the same time right now, and we're in the same general age range, then when we all retire and we use our cryptocurrency to cash out, then the market's going to just tank.
Well,
because we'll all be trying to cash out at once.
That's where I get confused. This shouldn't be an investment. I mean, people are making an investment, but to me, aren't we supposed to be building these new technologies? We're not necessarily investing to make money. We're not trying to replace our IRA, our 401k. And I think people are just trying to make it a quick get rich quick scheme. And that's where the issue really falls apart.
Well, and I think that's where the value is inflated, is that it is right now very much a get rich quick scheme with some good ideas behind it. That's why I'm still on board with Ethereum because I look at Ethereum and the way it's moving and that it has a strong future. But then I look at stuff like Ripple and Litecoin and these other currencies that are just ways of moving money from one place to another or ways of inflating your own value. And I'm losing hope in these altcoins of having any value whatsoever.
Has there been any successful ICO yet?
Yeah, all of them. I mean,
No,
how do you define
okay,
success?
no,
They
no.
sold all their tokens.
Not success in they made a lot of money. Success in they're raising money to do some good. Have they done that good?
The Pineapple Fund. So recently, the Pineapple Fund, which is a charity that is founded on Bitcoin, essentially, donated several $1 million to different charities. So the EFF has a $1 million donation from them. The Water Project has 1 million. OpenBSD got 50,000. So there are projects. The Apache Software Foundation got $1 million. There are projects that are intending to do something that turns around quickly, but there are projects like the DAO, which is intended to fund years and years of development.
But going back to the Pineapple Project, am I buying into their ICO hoping to make money off of that? Or am I doing a charitable
No, you're just
contribution at
giving
that
them
point?
money. Yeah, you're just
Right.
giving charitable contribution.
So that's different. You know, people are buying into ICOs thinking I'm going to turn my 5 cents into 50 cents quickly.
Well, I mean, I think Ethereum would be the most successful ICO because Ethereum funded itself off of the DAO contract, which was an ICO. Granted, it got hacked and all the money got stolen. They had to hard fork to reset it, but they did it.
Interesting. Where I was trying to go before was talking when I was talking about the Doug Pope crypto channel was he has a whole episode where he talks about some of these Ponzi schemes, not the Tether you were talking about, but just how that whole system is working and how to try and avoid that. Speaking specifically to things like BitConnect and a couple of the others.
I think the first thing you can do is invest in a contract, not in a promise.
Yeah. All right, we need to move off of cryptocurrency. I was just curious.
What do you got? You have one item in Trello.
Me? So I have a question for you guys. When you're working with an open source project, and I happen to have picked one I wanted to incorporate into a project recently, and within a couple hours of working on it, there was a flaw in how I needed it. So Thomas, is you as an open source maintainer, this is probably more for you. I open a pull request and I see that there are other pull requests that look like they're going to be merged at some point, but I don't know what the maintainer's idea of release are. I would think that they would say, oh, look, this does what it's supposed to do. There's tests. Everything's good. Let's just merge it. But maybe some are more on a regimented, we're going to release every X weeks or X months. So what would you do as a user of that library? Do you then just fork it and in your composer require your own, or do you continue requiring the main branch of it?
Yeah, I would fork it and use my own fork.
And then what? Wait, once it's your PR is accepted, go back to their version of it, because obviously I want to stay up to date with any changes that are made.
Yeah. You can, if you're maintaining your own fork, you can merge backwards
Right,
to
but
get any changes that they
but then you have to stay up to date with all of that.
make. Yeah. Yeah, it's an issue that I've run into several times with libraries that I needed a quick fix on, and it had a 1 or 2 or 3 month turnaround on pull requests.
Hmm.
And
I-
that's not much you can do except just
So
make noise every couple days.
so in the project I'm talking about happens to be Finks. I don't know if you're aware of that project. Um, it's in their MySQL adapter. So I had somebody on the team say, well, we could write our own class that extends the MySQL adapter and updates just the part we needed, which is true, but we still have the same issue. Now we're using the primary fork, so we get any benefit that they contribute to that except for that class, right? If I override that class and that method, if there's any other changes in there, I won't get that benefit until I realize, oh, they've accepted my PR, and then go and revert basically the code in my code base.
Yeah. And if you were going to go as solid as possible, then I would say everything you do, every library you implement should be abstracted away in your code. So you should always be implementing whatever you're importing so you can override methods. But it's just not practical for modern development to do that for everything.
Right.
Yeah, it's a catch-22. You gotta either commit to time later and difficult maintenance in one direction or the other.
What I didn't find on GitHub very easy is the only way to contact a maintainer through a GitHub pull request or issue.
Everyone I see on GitHub now has a link to their crypto, their Keybase chat. Have you seen that lately?
I have not seen that on GitHub. I mean, I use Keybase in Keybase chat. Not that I do a lot of talking with that, but
With the Buscoin stuff, I had some people I wanted to contact and get their opinions on things, and I found every single time that Keybase chat was the way to do it.
so is it part of the README? Is that where it's standard or standardized?
No, it's on the profile page on the user profile page on GitHub. And
Oh,
I don't know how it ties in. I think it's just that Keybase asks you to integrate with everything it can think of when you install it.
you know what? As I'm sitting here talking to you, I'm realizing I think I used a fork of the main project. So now I feel like an idiot. I wonder if I probably need to update that. This person has a bunch of pull requests into theirs. I wonder why they became more popular than the main one.
I've seen that happen with a lot of stuff. A lot of crypto stuff. Somebody just sort of says, "I'm bored with this," and walks away, and there's 100 people using it, and they start clamoring for help.
But Finks is maintained by Cake PHP. It's one of their projects. I think I am requiring from one of the 700 forks. No, I feel like an idiot, and I admitted to it on live podcasting. We'll fix it in post, right?
Well, I'm looking at Packagist, and are you using the Rob Morgan fork?
I am.
It shows up ahead. It shows up with 4.5 million downloads, and Cake PHP / migrations shows up with 1.2 million.
Yeah, I wonder what made them. What
No,
set
yeah,
hit
Rob Morgan
Rob's
is the
apart?
correct one. The cake one requires the Rob Morgan branch.
Oh, really? That's funny. Interesting.
Yeah,
Anyway,
looks like that's the original.
Eric, you're being very quiet. What have you had going on? You're muted. Yep, still muted.
This is the We're on Mute episode.
Well, I had
How about now? Hear me now?
There you
No,
go.
that's better. That's better.
So I got HTTPS on the call for papers. It looks like we're having issues uploading profile pics, but I don't think a whole lot of people are probably going to do that. We can figure that out later. But yes, HTTPS is now enabled on Wave PHP's call for papers.
We've been busy while we've been chatting. I like it.
Busy. I'm excited, man. I'm excited. I'm excited for the conference. I'm excited to get the call for papers out. I'm excited, man.
Me too. Oh, you know why? Actually, no such file directory. I'll fix that up anyway.
Yeah. So, yeah, we had a pretty exciting week this week, Thomas. John and I went and saw one of our long-standing clients. Great client. You know, we've been working with them for a few years now. They're the ones that brought us in to kind of maintain this legacy app. We've talked about it on the show in the past, and we've talked about some of our approaches where we've done like this API-driven architecture, and what that allowed us to do was create current platforms while still leveraging the old platform and then using APIs. This is also the project where we kind of came up with that approach of doing the Laravel wrapper around the legacy code. So we deployed a Laravel app in the legacy code. And we've been kind of working in this mucky environment for a while. And the process of getting them off the legacy code has been such a slow process. I mean, we've been doing it here and there, and we'll get little victories, little chunks, and the customer was okay with it. But you can tell that
they're thrilled with us. They absolutely love us.
Yeah, they love us. They love us as a company. They probably give us a little too much credit, but
hey, shh.
I'll edit that
out. But just progress was slow, and we were getting frustrated. So we kind of huddled up as a team. The Diego Dev guys did, and kind of talked about it and said, okay, what are our blockers here? What's the real reason why we can't progress this client quicker? And when we started to really dissect the challenges we've been facing over the last year with the hybrid approach of the Laravel wrapper around the older code, we came to the realization that this code base, this architecture, had just pitfalls all through it. And it wasn't just the code, it was the data structure, it was how they defined their schemas, it was the relationships they defined between the data. Nothing was compliant. And again, not knocking the developers who did it. This is 13-year-old code base that's been making this company money for that much time. So I know where I was as a developer 12, 13 years ago. So I'm definitely not going to knock these guys.
Yeah.
There were no PSR compliance and any of that. So they did what they needed to do to get a product created, and a company was built around that. So my hat's off to them. But we couldn't do anything. We were just kind of feeling like we were running in sand with it. So what the team, what we all kind of decided is, like, what we need is just to go greenfield. Just go to them and say, we need to sunset this application, and we just need to build from scratch. Not trying to build to migrate or trying to accommodate the existing application. Just rebuild a brand new application. And John and I talked about it. It's like, yeah, that would be great. There is no way in the world they're going to want to do this, especially when we tell them, yeah, it's going to probably take a year or two to, get a full featured application like you currently have. And but we said, okay, we'll go talk to the client. And John and I went down this week and talked to the client and said, okay, this is going to sound crazy, but this is what we want to do. We want to just put the current application in maintenance mode, and we just
we'll
want to
assign one developer just to do bug fixes, no new features. This is what we want to do.
And they were floored. They were ecstatic. They were so happy.
They were happy about that.
It completely caught me off guard. I had this list of arguments that I was going to make to do the Greenfield project, and they were just like, "That's a fantastic idea. We've
been wanting you to come to us with that for a year now."
So one of our biggest clients. The cool thing about this client is, first thing, they're great people to work with. They're not a tech company. They have a separate. Their business is something completely outside of tech, but they take advantage of tech. And the owner is a very progressive thinker. He really sees, the value added to what we do and the platform that we build. And he's just such a great guy, because just having the conversation with him, this is the thing I was sharing with the team later, is he's so passionate about his industry that he wants to start defining standards. And he's like, and the standard, he's basically talking about PSRs for his industry. He's like, I want to define these standards. I want them to be open. I don't want people to think they have to use my company to get these standards, but I want people to know that, we're the ones leading the charge to define these standards, and we're making the whole industry better because of these standards. It's like, he's just a very passionate guy, and he enjoys the industry he's in, the field he's in, and he really wants to make that industry better. And again, standards compliant. It's like, I want to tell him, we just went through this in our world, in the PHP world. We were going through this right now, and it's working. But he's a great guy, and they're a great client, and I'm happy to know we'll be doing business with them for this foreseeable future.
And he's also way into new technology, so he really wants to take advantage of the blockchain, but not just because blockchain is the buzzword, but because he's done a lot of reading and research and thinks that it plays a key role in what they want to do.
Yeah.
Well, that's good news.
I honestly think he has probably some of the best use cases for blockchain. And again, he's not using it for the e-commerce portion, for the transaction of Bitcoins. No, he's really thinking of other uses for it. And I think he has some really good use cases for it.
Yeah.
I'm hoping
we'll talk off air about it more with you, Thomas, since you have more experience.
Yeah, so that was such an exciting week. I was so happy. And you know what else was funny is to see how excited the team was too. Like, John and I, we're passionate about this. I mean, this is what we do day in, day out. But we understand that we're freaks of nature, right? I mean, not everybody's going to have the same passion for what we do. For some people, this is their job, and they don't care to get into it or to have any sort of pride behind it or anything. And obviously, those aren't the type of people that John and I look for when we're bringing people into our little fold. And just to see everybody's reaction to the news just kind of solidifies, like, we have the right people working on this project, because everybody was just so ecstatic and it was just a good feeling in the office this week. It's just everybody's just got this renewed energy of, yes, we get to work on something new, because these guys have been trudging through this legacy code for years. And finally, we have other projects, we have other clients, and there's one team specifically that everybody's kind of envious of, because they work on a Greenfield app and they got to build the app from start to finish. it's kind of funny because they actually ran into a little issue where the client just in the 11th hour decided to do a complete change, but or 23rd hour, I guess, but it was still a greenfield application. And these guys who have been just going through the muck and the mud and working in this legacy code for years finally have an opportunity to, do some new stuff. And everybody's so excited, so happy. It's fun.
That's interesting that came up with you guys, because I'm dealing with a very similar situation too, where we are making a sort of pivot that requires enough change in our system that we're just rewriting a lot of our system from scratch. And so I've started work. My boss is on vacation for 3 weeks.
Always on vacation.
I know.
What is this guy's story?
He's a globetrotter now. It's his thing. So he left me with the instructions of just get it up and running. And so now I'm sitting with an empty Laravel project thinking, how radical can I get this before he comes back? So my, step one is getting some of the fundamentals in there, but step two is rewriting the entire database into Mongo. Ooh. And just seeing what he thinks.
This is your idea or his idea?
That's my idea.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm devoting a bit of my personal time to that side of the project because
what's your use case for that, though? I mean, what? Any reason you're going that route?
I was looking at it for analytics. I wanted fast storage of user data for analytics purposes.
Well, and also, depending on what piece he's using it for, I mean, he could be dealing with a lot of unstructured data to begin with.
It's kind of the opposite. It's the fact that our data is structured in the document format. We publish a document. Right. Yeah, it's unstructured, structured. It's the documents that are built out of structured or out of unstructured data. So we have, I'll say, actors and actresses, and movies that actors and actresses star in, and genres of movies that actors and actresses star in, and the way all
tags associated to that.
Yeah. So the way all of those things associate when you render a page, I was reading through the MongoDB documentation and guides, and I went, "Oh my God, this is intended for our data structure. This is intended for exactly what we're doing. I can't believe that we've never looked at this before," because we generate a document that is published, and the document stays the same basically after publication forever and ever. But some of the data that builds the document does change, and that's what MongoDB does. That's what the NoSQL databases do, is they build and publish documents and republish documents if they need to be changed. And it's just, I was really thrilled to read into that, and being given, a 3-week period of time where I'm in charge of my own sort of function has been very nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna be interested to see what you get out of that, and probably pick your brain on it a little bit, because I'm a big fan of the NoSQL approach. We've talked about it in the past, but it's hard to find good use cases for it. I'm looking forward to picking your brain on this a little bit and seeing what you come up with.
We have another member on our team that preaches NoSQL all the time, and he still hasn't convinced me that that's the way to go. And with us starting this new Greenfield app, I would really like to know, make the right decision on which way we go. And I know we're not tied to one or the other. We could have some aspects in NoSQL, some aspects in a traditional MySQL database. But what's the use case? Why would I go one way versus the other?
Well, that's the nice thing about the Greenfield app. I've already scoped out that the database is going to be MySQL 5.7, and that actually gives us that JSON data type, which is basically what a NoSQL database is. It's just a JSON document, and a perfect use case is we're building. One of the applications we're building currently is called, like the smart form, and again, it has no structure. How many questions the form has, how many properties per question, how many sub questions that might be related to questions. There's no real structure to what the form looks like. So what we've come up with is, it basically builds a JSON of the forms.
End of day, there's still structure to it. I mean, if you really wanted to build that with a MySQL table, you could.
It would be.
There's still structure.
A lot of tables.
There's still structure to it, but one of them looks like a programmatic structure, while the other looks like a relationship model, a relationship, Excel spreadsheet. And that's the thing that interested me, is that if I'm logging, just wrote data, verbatim clicks on a website, that to me is relational data, where it's user ID, video ID, click time and date, where it's just that's the relationship and it's static and stays like that forever. But if you're building an end result page out of a collection of other information, and that page is a sort of static endpoint on your site, then unstructured programmatic ways of doing it make a lot more sense.
But you're talking about building the MongoDB out of a traditional relational database.
I'm talking about converting it. So essentially, when I render a page, take all the data that I've used to render that page, save it as an object, and then save that object into Mongo.
Does that become your write source as well? Like, what if I want to update it? Are you updating it in Mongo, or are you updating it in MySQL and then letting that update your MongoDB?
I would probably write it to MySQL and then update it to push it to Mongo, but I'm not sure. I don't have the experience yet to figure that part out.
That's fascinating to me. So you're talking about living in a hybrid world, which isn't bad. I'm just curious. Again, going back to use cases.
Yeah,
if I'm writing it from scratch, am I going to write directly to Mongo, or am I going to do what you're talking about?
We cache our pages to Redis, so we're already living in somewhat of a hybrid world.
Which, I mean, I think most people today should be using some sort of cache.
Right.
Whether it's...
I don't think it's a lot more quote unquote hybrid than most of the other functionality. I think it just has a different moving part.
Yeah, I think John's point is, functionally, as a coder, if I need to update data, if I need to get data, trying to get your head around the no structure of a NoSQL database it's challenging. I mean, I enjoy it. I've worked in it before. I still try to find good use cases, but unlike the individual who works with us, he's completely converted. He's like, if you tell him you're building an application, he just says, okay, it's a NoSQL database, unless you can convince me there's a real reason we need a relational database. See, otherwise, we'll just keep it as a NoSQL database. And it's interesting to talk to him because he's got valid arguments. And, our arguments are usually the same. Well, it's a relational database unless there's a compelling reason you can give me for it not to be a relational database. And this kind of goes, that's kind of the back and forth that happens right now.
Well, I think my recent experience with JavaScript is one of the things that's made it flip in my head for me, because I very much feel myself leaning towards NoSQL first because of how I've been dealing with JavaScript objects so much lately, and how much sense it makes when you're storing an object and fetching an object and editing an object.
Right, but you're talking about a defined object. But having all the data, for example, back to your actor reference, in a NoSQL database, I mean, you basically store all the information related to the actor in one document. You know, there's not you can do relations to other records, but typically everything about that actor is defined just in a document. And so it's a different paradigm. Now my problem with
good.
My problem with NoSQL databases has always been, and it still is, that I think it puts too much of the burden on the developer, because now the developer is on the hook for data integrity, for data validation. Typically the NoSQL solutions, they don't care what you feed it. Just feed it JSON and it'll store it. But is a phone number a phone number? Well, now as the developer, I have to make sure not only is my code doing all the checks correctly, but everybody who submits to me, they're doing the checks correctly. And I think that's where I start to think, well, it has a little bit of a disadvantage from that perspective, because with the relational database currently, like MySQL, I can put those restrictions on the data structure itself. And if my developers miss something, the database will puke it out to them and say, nope, I can't accept this. You gave me a string. It needs to be a number. And that's where I kind of start to say, okay, well, end of the day, data's data, right? Whatever format the data's in, you can work with it. It's just a matter of what's keeps the data integrity and what's easier as a developer to work with. And relational databases still seem to win out in my mind with that, because there are several tiers to that validation, data structure, data integrity piece.
Well, with that, if you look at Laravel models and how they have belongs to many, has many, things like that, those kinds of relationships, that's what you would create for something like MongoDB. You would have an object that represents every individual storable thing. So you'd have a hair colors object, and then you'd have a genders object, and then the person object would point to an instance of a hair color object. And then
but again, you're saying, in Laravel you can define those relationships, so it becomes transparent. At the end of the day, the developer is still just getting back a collection to work with, or an object to work with. The fact that it's a relational database is irrelevant to them.
It's irrelevant unless you look at performance, where these relationships can be extremely slow performing. When I want to know something that's end relationships back, MySQL has to perform some really dense logic and queries to manage that. Whereas with documents, that logic, those queries are all written in the native language of your choice. So in PHP, I would say, here's how these objects relate to each other. And then I would just freeze that in time. And whenever I pull those objects back again, that relationship is instantly restored. So at the time that the object is created, all of its relationships are established, all of its properties are established, and then frozen in the database. So you're moving the table structure out of MySQL and into your code base. And it does put a lot more work onto the developer, but I don't have a DBA. So that work is already on me no matter what.
Yeah,
that's a valid point.
I'll be interested to see where you are with this week after week. We'll continue to touch base on this, because this is something we've been toying with for a couple of years now in Diego Dev, and talking about use cases and where it makes sense and where it doesn't make sense. And there are definitely areas where I think it does make sense. And I think we all use NoSQL solutions. I know John's using it for one of his clients. It happens to be Firebase, but it's still a NoSQL solution. So, I mean, we do acknowledge that there are the use cases. I'm just not I'm not on board like with our developer who believes everything can be a NoSQL or everything should be a NoSQL unless there's a justification for it not to be. I'm still, I acknowledge I'm an older developer. I've been doing relational databases for a very long time. So I acknowledge the fact that maybe it's old dog new trick with me, but I really struggle to get to the point where I would go to a NoSQL solution before I went to a SQL solution or a relational database.
Exactly.
I think the way I see it is that if I had a blog post object that I had put together and I wanted to save it, if I save it as NoSQL, I just lock the object in time until I pull it out again and I get the literal instantiated object back. Versus if I'm using MySQL, I have to break the data up into what MySQL finds acceptable and write it in a way that MySQL finds acceptable. And then when I'm reinstantiating or when I'm rehydrating, then I have to pick out all the pieces from all the different places again and rehydrate from a million different places. So you're rebuilding an object that you could have just frozen in time.
Yeah. I mean, it's a document. Yeah.
I'll let you guys know where I end up with it because I'm really intrigued by what I've been reading.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get a move on. We have been talking about that one for a while, and we're almost an hour into the show already. One thing we talk about a lot here is user groups and the importance of user groups and meetups and going out there and talking. Being part of your local community. John and I are obviously big with user groups here in San Diego. Thomas, you moved to wherever it was you moved, Salt Lake City, or what is it? Where are you at? Salt Lake,
Colorado.
Yeah, no, it's Colorado, but is it
Colorado
Springs? Are you in
Springs?
Salt Lake? So Colorado Springs, yeah.
Salt Lake is in Utah.
Oh yeah,
it's all the same.
I don't know, dude. It snows.
Anything east of San Diego is east of San Diego.
Yeah, just east. I moved east.
Colorado. Anyways, Colorado Springs. Thomas got involved and is helping with getting the user groups out there running. So obviously, we're passionate about this, and of course, we mainly focus on PHP, and we did the Laravel meetup for a while out here in San Diego. But our industry and our developers, our scope is more than just PHP. And the local Vue JavaScript meetup group, there was one here in San Diego. I got to meet the guys running it a couple times. Great bunch of guys. They're really passionate about Vue.js and JavaScript development just in general. And they had put together this meetup. I had gone to a couple of them. And then one of our developers started going to the meetups, and he really enjoyed it. I mean, he got a lot out of it. They used to do like tutorials, so they'd actually build applications for each meetup, and it was fun. But unfortunately, as life happens, and everybody gets busy, and people move on to different jobs and different responsibilities, the guys running the Vue.js meetup they were just like, yeah, we're not going to be able to do this anymore. And we got the notice. I got a notice in the email saying, hey, your Vue.js meetup is going to be disbanded unless somebody steps up as an organizer. And sure enough, a couple of guys with Diego Dev reach out and say, hey, we noticed that the organizers for Vue.js are stepping down. I think we're going to step up and start running that meetup. And John and I were like, yep, you've got our support 100%. So we had a couple of guys step in, and they're still kind of getting things organized. They're looking for a place to host it, but we've got a couple of Diego Dev guys running a Vue.js meetup now. I'm excited. I'm proud of that. Again, just kind of reflect back to the type of people we're working with and how passionate people are with what they're working with. I want to just kind of put the word out there. If you're in San Diego, If you do Vue.js, and for whatever reason you're listening to this podcast, which would have no idea why you would be listening to this podcast, have no fear. The meetup is still alive and being worked on.
First one's coming up this month, right? In February.
Did they find a spot, though? I wasn't sure if they had found a spot or not.
Good question.
May 18th. No. They do not have an upcoming meetup yet. But I'm sure we'll let our listeners know when that does show up.
Yeah.
Well, while you two were talking back and forth, I got profile picture uploads working.
You're an awesome person.
So you go to cfp.wavephp.com. You can submit your profile, upload a profile picture, and your wonderful talks to come to San Diego and present. See, we're working hard.
Hey, look at that. I got a profile picture up.
Oh, wow. He was serious. Eduardo, I thought he was joking. Eduardo in our live chat asked why Barack Obama was following me. I thought he meant WavePHP, but no, he's following my account.
Holy smokes. You're a CEO, man. You're an important person.
But the funny part is I'm not following the Barack Obama account. You know, sometimes how it auto follows people that follow them.
Yeah.
So I'm honored.
Funny.
Thank you.
You're an important
Thank
cat,
you, Mr.
man.
President. I appreciate it. I should follow you too.
It's the obligatory follow back when the president follows you.
Yeah, sort of, maybe. Maybe it's a good idea.
I'm one of 625,000 people that Mr. Obama follows, so I better tweet important stuff.
I have my doubts that that's the real Mr. Obama.
It's the verified Barack Obama account.
I want to see if he follows me now. I'm jealous. I'm really jealous here. Let me see. Barack Obama, is he following me? He is following me. Oh, now I'm weirded out. Following me. Awesome. I am following him, though.
That's funny.
Yeah. He's actually following a lot of people in the PHP community that I see. Yeah.
We got a bot.
This.
We just got a bot into our live chat room.
I'm digging it.
And YouTube?
Yeah, it's funny.
Oh, great. How do you ban this?
I don't know.
Oh no.
Well, he's starting to make a lot of sense, though.
Happy is he who kills your children.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm like, oh yeah, we don't need admins in our chat. There's never anybody in there. Oh, look at that.
Funny. All right, we're starting to run long, and now we're just talking about stupid things.
I have the closer. Are we ready for the closer?
We haven't talked about anything this episode.
No,
we talked about tons.
We're an hour in, and we haven't talked about anything relevant.
I think I have it. What happened? I lost my Trello board. I don't know what Trello is. Here it is. I got it. All right. Yeah. I mean, if you guys want to wrap it up, I'm good. It feels like a short show.
Well, this is a complicated topic because we all have something on this one. This is a shining ray of light in my doom and gloom.
Okay.
Facebook. Some weird things are going on with Facebook this month. I'm not sure if you followed. The numbers came out today, and 1 million North Americans have left Facebook. So their interactions have gone up by 34%, but their user count has gone down by 1 million. This is after news that a lot of prominent tech people are keeping their kids off of Facebook. And the story we talked about a couple weeks ago, where one of the creators of Facebook's marketing and advertisement platform regretted everything she was involved in and decried Facebook's invasion of privacy and society. And Eric, you have a story here about Facebook.
I do. I mean, I guess kind of piggybacks on what you're discussing. The fact that I've iterated a few times. I have no active protest against Facebook. I'm not avoiding Facebook. I just don't go to Facebook anymore. I didn't.
Wait. We got breaking news coming in right now. Eduardo had let us know that Barack Obama is not following Thomas. Important breaking news. Back to your
very intelligent man.
Yeah, back to your regularly scheduled program. Eric, go ahead.
I forget what we were talking about. Oh yeah, Facebook. Yeah. So I'm obviously not. I'm not making any stand against Facebook or anything. I just the content on Facebook wasn't engaging to me anymore, and I just got tired of it, and I got tired of going through and trying to filter out my friends who I didn't want to listen to their political views anymore, or stories that I didn't want to see anymore, or invites, I just got tired of it, and so I just stopped going to it. I pop on occasionally because it is a way for the family to stay connected, to see pictures. So I probably log in about once a week. And it turns out this is a problem for Facebook. And like you said, their new user pool is still growing, but it's not growing at the incredible rate that it was growing at. And so apparently Mark what's his name? Zuckerberg?
Yep. There you go.
The Z.
He's basically said they're revisiting the whole Facebook algorithm. That they're trying to get people to come back. They want people to come back and to be engaged, and they want to be relevant. I think that's the problem. Is I think for a while, it was this huge explosion of geeky, nerdy people on there embracing Facebook and leveraging Facebook. Then it kind of expanded into like normal people, and the mundane information that normal people talked about, and all the geeky people, the people who built Facebook, started leaving Facebook.
And same thing happened with Twitter, though. Twitter was built by geeks. I say that with a very loving attitude there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But then it just became too much, and I think that's why I don't tweet as much as I used to.
Yeah. So this article that I posted in Trello, well, I had show notes. I was reading through it, and it's funny because it's like a lot of the things they're talking about, I started seeing, which is basically, I started seeing emails coming from Facebook saying, "Hey, you have new notifications, and you have I forget what it was, like a tag or a poke," or I'm like, I didn't realize people could still poke you on Facebook. What the hell is that? And just. Even Facebook started engaging me, trying to get me to come back on and check, just check out my timeline.
Like a friend from junior high.
Yeah.
I have a separate Facebook profile that I use for testing an API integration a few years ago. And I still get an email once, probably a week, if not more, of, "Hey, so-and-so just updated their profile." It's like, yeah, I'm not using this. I really don't care. Right. But I also don't care. I don't care enough to stop the email either, obviously. I just delete it.
And apparently that's part of this new initiative Facebook has. And the article actually outlines some of the kind of almost scammier ways that they're trying to get people just to log into their Facebook to check their Facebook. And it's interesting because I'm curious. I don't know. It's like, now that I'm not on Facebook. I really don't miss it. But I know, like, my wife lives on Facebook. I mean, and my kids, they're my wife probably more, but they're just, she has so many interactions. She's part of communities and through Facebook. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for Facebook. I mean, I don't see it ever really being that engaging for me ever again, but it may be. I don't know. I think if I had kids,
Yeah, that's
I
the
would care.
big thing for me is having the kids wanting to share with family. So 90%
We
of my
know.
posts are kid posts.
It's either a new adorable child picture or what beer you're drinking at noon 30.
Or my automatic Twitter to Facebook, which I tweet my text.
Which you
my
need to
text
stop
stuff-
doing. I've seen
my
it
text
because
stuff,
your
like-
family can't comprehend why you're posting this on their timeline. Have you seen that, Eric?
Yeah.
It's hilarious. He'll post some technical question, and then his mother-in-law will say, "I'm not even sure what that means."
No, I haven't seen that.
no matter how many times
fantastic.
no matter how many times I tell them, listen, when I tweet, I talk geek to my friends on Twitter. Yes, that automatically goes to Facebook. They still have the need to comment on it. It's like, you don't have to. You can stop. It's okay.
That's part of the social structure of Facebook, though, is the billions of comments on stuff that are just iterations of "I read this." I don't understand.
Yeah, but I mean, a good use case for it is we have some friends who, I mean, although not very close friends, not people we talk to all the time. We run into them occasionally, and we do things. And my kids have babysat for them, and they're good people, and we like them and all, but we're not tight, and we don't really run in the same circles. And it turns out that they're expecting another child, and my wife found out about that through Facebook, and it's it allows her to stay current in that relationship without having to engage. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but
There's a counterpoint to it though too, where like my wife's aunt added me on Facebook today, and I was looking at it thinking, first, who is this person to me? And then second, what was the last thing I put on Facebook? Because I'm pretty sure it was about how the fall of capitalism will be the end of the American bourgeoisie. And I'm not sure that I want extended family reading my dark rantings on Facebook.
Well, don't post them there then.
Well, that's what it's for. Another interesting thing that Facebook is doing is they've been criticized for a poor reaction to the Russian fake news spam during the presidential election, but they have just announced that they are banning all advertisements for cryptocurrencies whatsoever. Anything promoting cryptocurrencies or ICOs or blockchain or Bitcoin, they are not allowing on their platform.
What is their justification for that?
That's a good question. The quote I have here is, "This policy is intentionally broad while we work to better detect deceptive and misleading advertising practices." And I think that's one of the things that people don't talk enough about with the cryptocurrency world, is that it is inundated with scams. It really is a researcher's market right now. If you're not doing research, you're going to lose all your money, pretty guaranteed. Especially if someone is targeting you in an advertisement. they're probably just trying to steal your money. But they haven't given a reason beyond that, beyond we're trying to avoid deceptive advertising practices.
Are they trying to steal, or are they trying to ask you nicely for you to give it to them and you're offering it? Steal, they have to reach into your pocket and take it out.
No,
Yeah.
it's not. It's very. You can steal nicely. I have an older card here with Facebook as well. This is. I'm clearing all my Facebook garbage right now.
Good, because we're running long, so you can make it quick.
Facebook is getting in trouble. They have targeted advertisement, so you can say, I want this advertisement to target this demographic. And one of the things you can advertise on Facebook is job positions. And when you're advertising for a job position, according to most laws in America and in the UK, you have to be advertising openly to all denominations or groups. You have to be saying this is for anyone who wants to apply.
Mm.
But employers are electing to advertise exclusively to younger people. They're saying we want young people for this position, so we'll only target the young people demographic on Facebook.
That's interesting, because I know you can't ask questions like during an interview. You're not allowed to ask things like age. But
religion. You can even target Christians on Facebook.
Yeah, that's interesting, because I mean, what stops me from putting my advertisement, my job ad, into a predominantly Christian newspaper? Or
anyone can read that newspaper. I can still get that newspaper. The question here is, because Facebook is filtering which ads are shown to you specifically, you cannot get an ad for a position if they think you're not in their demographic.
Interesting point.
So there's a very big concern right now about advertising for available positions on social media, because it does violate a number of very big laws. And these are companies like Verizon, Amazon, Goldman Sachs, things like that, companies that they don't get to skirt the law in these kinds of ways. They're not a bakery that has filed a lawsuit about the sexuality of the baby being born or something. This is corporations who say, we want young people working the registers, so we're targeting young people on Facebook. And
Eric,
that's blatantly illegal.
Take our ad out of Teen Vogue, please.
You actually had me sitting there thinking for a minute. Wait, did we put an ad in Teen Vogue?
That was years ago.
Don't scare me like that, man.
The company has pivoted since then.
I'm old. I don't know any teen magazines right now, so let's do something out that made some sort of sense.
So the interesting twist on this is that in order to see the ad, you would have to provide information that was false on your Facebook profile, which companies such as Facebook are claiming is a violation of the 1986 Computer Fraud and Abuse Act. So you would have to incriminate yourself in order to see these positions made available to you. It's interesting stuff, weird stuff, and I think I'll leave that hanging in the dead air.
That ends this episode on doom and gloom as usual.
Yeah.
All right. We're well over an hour into this. I think it's time to wrap it up. What do you guys think?
I like to say we're a solid hour into it.
All right. Well, once we cut it down, we might be like 10 minutes into it, because we really didn't talk about anything this episode.
We had a great conversation about MongoDB.
That's true. All right. Let's wrap this up. This has been episode 94 of PHP Ugly. I'm John Congdon.
I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm Tom Rideout. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
The worst closer.
What the hell? Thanks everybody for watching. If you're still around, appreciate it. Thanks.